I can't really say how it is in other countries, but at least in the US, there's this entire culture where it feels like you're supposed to pick a job, work it for the next 40 years, and be miserable, and then you can enjoy your life. You will finally have removed those chains and that albatross around your neck, and then you will be free. In essence, the idea is that you work and you give up your best years of your life, and then finally, whenever you're kind of old and useless, that's when you can go and have fun. And of course, whenever you hit that age, you can't really do anything anyways. There are a lot of older people who are in excellent health and who can do all the things that they want to, but there are a lot of people who are not in good health at that age. So I've always hated the idea that you just work this piece of crap career for 40 years and then you finally have those final years to yourself. And of course, this entire idea of retirement is kind of based around the idea that you will live long enough to see your retirement. And the unfortunate reality is that that's not true of everyone. And I hate the idea of retirement just because there's this entire idea built into it that you hate what you do. Because if you do something you love, then why would you ever want to stop? If you truly love your job, if you're truly passionate about your career, then why would you want to stop after 40 years? And that's where I am. I don't ever want to give up writing. And there seems to be this entire idea, there seems to be this sort of defeatism that's ingrained in our culture. There's this idea that if you actually are passionate about your career, if you're passionate about the things that you want to do, then that all of a sudden means that it is unattainable as a career. I talked about this in my look back video essay, but at least if you're doing something creative, then there's this idea that you won't ever be able to make a living at it. And then of course, that's when you fall into the entire retirement trap where it's like, yeah, just work for 40 years and then you can finally live your life at the end. I had an experience whenever I was younger where whenever I was 20 years old, my dad took me aside and he asked me what I wanted to do with my life. And I told him, yeah, I want to become a writer. And he said that what I should do is I should pick a career that will make me a ton of money. And then I work that career for the next 30 years and I save up a bunch of money and then I retire early. So I retire whenever I'm 50. And then whenever I'm 50, then I can write all the novels I want. But until then, I should just work the job and focus on it and kind of put off the dream of becoming a writer. And so my response to him was, you expect me to be miserable for the next 30 years and just not write? And this idea is just so absurd. The idea that you would willingly work for decades being miserable with the hope of maybe at the end of your life being happy for a little bit of time before you freaking die. And that's another thing that's really disgusted me about the entire idea of retirement, is this idea that you can't actually be happy. You can't actually do the things you want to do until you're retired. And I think that the younger generations have kind of sniffed out that this is BS. I think that you see people who are more willing to take trips, who are more willing to go on vacation. I think it's finally obvious that most companies don't care about their employees, and I think people are finally waking up to that now. I think people are finally realizing that it's stupid to be loyal to a company who mistreats you. But really, whenever I look at the idea of retirement and I just see this idea that you can't be happy until you are free of the shackles of your career, it just makes me sad. I just find it really disappointing that that is the lie that we are told. And I think it's so sad because I wonder how many people are wasting away their lives just grinding year after year with the hope that one day whenever they retire, then they'll be able to do the things they want to do. I hate the idea that some people have that whenever you retire, that's when you can finally sit around and do nothing all day, because that sounds like a miserable experience. I'm not gonna lie, I'm recording this at 11:57 p.m. on Independence Day. I took a break from everything a couple weeks ago, and I told myself that I wouldn't start recording anything until July 8th. So it's July 4th right now, so I kind of broke that. I'm not supposed to be working right now, but the reason I am is because I've been miserable without doing anything. Because I've just been sitting around and like playing games. I've been playing Elden Ring these past few days, and it's great.
The loathsome dung eater.
But at the same time, it just feels so horrible to kind of sit there and do nothing. So I've been kind of doing this for 2 weeks. I can't imagine doing this for years at a time. I can't imagine retiring when I'm 65 and then just living out the next couple decades doing this. I think that's why so many people retire and then they immediately work as something else. I know a guy who retired and then he started teaching classes as a professor because he was tired of retirement. I know another guy who had a company and he sold it for a bunch of money. He retired for a couple of years and then he got tired and went back to work at a different company. But I don't know, the entire idea of retirement has always disgusted me and scared me because, as I was saying, if you're doing something that you enjoy, Why would you ever want to stop doing that? And if you aren't doing something you enjoy, then you should probably be trying to move in that direction if it's a possibility. And you could argue that this is a very privileged stance, or I'm out of touch, or I'm not understanding reality fully, but I don't think so. I think really all I'm saying is that you don't have to wait to live life whenever you're older. There's this idea that has burrowed itself in my head, and it first showed up in my mind a couple months back, and I haven't been able to shake it. And it's this idea that if I can't be happy now, if I can't be happy right now in the present moment, then I will never be happy. And it's a kind of horrific thought, the idea that happiness could never come. Because for so much of my life, I've said, I'll be happy in the future. I'll be happy whenever I hit these goals. I'll be happy whenever I have these accomplishments. But the thing is that I'll hit my goals. The thing is, I will do everything I set out to do, and then I'll feel good about it for 5 seconds, and then immediately I'll feel empty. And I think that is probably a very common experience, where you build something up in your mind and it's gonna be so grand and fantastic whenever I do this thing, and then it comes and it's not the completely glamorous experience that you thought it was. Or even if it was, nothing lasts forever. And so I think it's dangerous to have these goals that you just build up and up and up. And I think it's dangerous to link your happiness to the completion of those goals. I think it's dangerous to not allow yourself to be happy in the present moment. And of course, I'm not implying that you should be happy all the time. I'm not implying that's doable, because it's not. But what I am saying is that you shouldn't wait to live life. What I am saying is that if you're not enjoying life right now, then hopefully you can make the changes necessary to get to a point where you feel more comfortable or feel more stable or something. And life is hard, and I'm not saying this is easy, because it's not. And again, I'm not even saying that I'm happy necessarily. I'm not saying that I'm fully happy. I would say that I'm happier than I was. So that's something, that's an upward movement. But I think I'm learning how to be happy in the present moment. So that's pretty cool, I guess. But I don't know, the thought of doing something miserable for the next decade, you know, I don't want to do anything that I find miserable for a day, much less for 40 years. I've worked crap jobs before, and I've used them as a launch pad to other things, better things. So honestly, I know all too well that there are periods of your life where you are miserable and where you are unhappy, and you just kind of have to stick it out. But I don't think that should be your entire life. Obviously, everyone has to support themselves. Obviously, if you have a family or something like that, if you have other people who are relying on you, then you do what you have to. But all that I'm saying is that I think that it's a mistake to not try to move in a direction that makes you happy. I think it's a mistake to say that I'll be happy one day. I'll be happy when I'm 65 and I can actually travel because I won't have this job holding me back. But the thing is that, like I said, if you can't be happy now, then you won't be happy in the future. And again, this is a thought that has been rattling around my head for so long now. And it's such a damning thought, honestly. It's something so horrific that it actually disturbs me, I guess. The idea that if you can't be happy now, then you won't be happy in the future. It's a tough pill to swallow. Don't let your mind tell you that you can be happy in the future. Don't let your mind tell you that fulfillment will come in the future. Work to make it a reality and be proud of yourself for every single step you take, no matter how small. It's easier said than done, I know this all too well. But I think it's still a good direction to move in. So, thank you for watching. Have a nice night. I'm going back on break, I guess. I mean, not now. Because if you're seeing this, then I'm not on break anymore. But it's 4th of July. It's actually July 5th now. But I'm going to bed. So thank you. Bye.